What up, bro? It's Caleb Jones, and it's the Alpha Male 2.0 podcast. And here in Dubai, as I record this, it is getting into the summer in Dubai, which is the only time of year you really don't want to be in Dubai. So June, July, August, it's 105 degrees plus Fahrenheit, and it's a little humidity, so it's not the greatest. So far, it's been okay. Hasn't driven me crazy, but I plan on leaving in about 2 or 3 weeks to Paraguay, and I'll be there for 3 or 4 weeks because they're having their really mild winter down there now. So perfect. So I'll go down to a mild winter while it's hot at home here in Dubai, and when it starts getting nice, I will come back to Dubai. But that leads right into the thing I want to talk about today, and that is moving out of your country. Maybe, possibly. And as you may or may not know, I just announced that I am releasing, finally, after many months, my 5 Flags course on how to move out of your country. And frankly, this will actually be a first of a series of courses because I realized in terms of going over 5 Flags, the entire 5 Flags process, that is an extremely complicated process. And there was no way I could put it all into one course. So I have to break it out over several courses over the next few years. Plus, as always, I never teach anything that I have not personally done. So there are some aspects of 5 Flags I haven't completed yet, mostly because of COVID hysteria, which has set back my plans anywhere from 1 year to 1.5 years. So I'm being very patient on those. But I have moved out of the country, thank God. I've moved out it's been several months now. And I want to address the fear that you might have about moving out of your country. And that is if you are in the camp where you are saying to yourself, or maybe even saying to others, you know, my country sucks. I don't like being here. My country's getting worse and worse and worse. It's just pissing me off. And I want to move out of the country, but I'm scared. I'm scared. But I'm scared to move out of the country. I'm scared. What if I move out of the country and they don't have Starbucks? But I need my Starbucks. What if they move out of the country and they don't have my favorite brand of deodorant? I mean, shit, I need my brand of deodorant. I mean, what the fuck? I mean, what if I move out of the country and they don't have a Target? What if they don't have Target in my new country? Oh no. These are things I've heard people actually say, by the way. I'm not making this shit up. What if I move out of the country and everybody hates me? I go there and they don't like me because I'm from this country. I'm not from that country, so they don't like me. And they don't. What if I move out of the country and I don't speak their language and I won't be able to do anything and I'll be fucked? And what if I go out of the country and I get sick and I need to go to the doctor? And everybody knows the only good doctors are in Europe, United States. There are no other good doctors anywhere on the entire planet. Everywhere on the entire planet outside of Europe, the United States, or Canada, or Australia, anywhere else, as soon as you get sick, you just immediately die in your apartment because there are no good doctors. Or if you go to the doctor, they give you like staph infections and they inject you with the AIDS virus and you just die and pass out. It's horrible. So what if I get sick? What if I need a doctor? All right. Oh, sorry, it's tiring being a beta male. Whew, sorry. Whew. Man, how do you betas do it? How do you live that way? Man, I would be so tired if I was a pussy beta. Jesus Christ. It takes so much energy to be worried all the time. God, and make excuses? God damn. All right, so let's address this. Let's address you being scared about moving out of the country. And as always, I'm gonna be as objective and as rational as I can, even though I realize that a lot of this is based in feelings and irrationality, and that's my first point, is that most of what you are feeling is not based in any fact. Most excuses I have seen men use about not moving out of their country or doing other 5 Flags type things, but moving out of the country really is kind of step one in most cases. Not always, but in most cases it is. Most of these excuses are the equivalent of the 5-year-old little boy who is scared of a monster under his bed. There is no monster under his bed, but he is terrified that there's a monster under his bed or in his closet. He's terrified. And many of your fears in terms of what may or may not happen if you move out of the country are literally in that category. You are afraid of things that are literally never going to happen, or if they happen, there are very, very simple workarounds for them that are not big deals at all. Now, I've lived in Dubai for several months now, and Have I encountered any problems whatsoever? Of course, I've encountered a few inconvenient little problems. But none of these problems were scary, none of these problems were showstoppers, and none of these problems were big deals at all. Not one. Not since I've moved. Not a single one. I just encountered a little one the other day. So right now I'm working on setting up bank accounts here in Dubai. And unfortunately in Dubai, it's a little complicated to set up bank accounts because historically, because Dubai has zero taxes, there's been a lot of money laundering and fraud here historically. So several years ago, all the banks cracked down on that. And so now to open a bank account requires a bunch of rigmarole. You can't just go to the bank and open an account in 5 minutes like you could in your country where you are already a citizen. Here in Dubai, first of all, you have to have a residency card, which took a while for me to get. And then you have to fill out some forms, and they have to do a background check on you. You got to do a bunch of other bullshit. And I'm going through that right now. And because of that, it is a little difficult for me to pay my utility bill. Now I can pay for everything else, my American credit cards. So let me be clear about that first. Your credit cards in your home country, likely your Western country, will probably work just fine in the new country. My American credit cards and my American debit cards have worked all over the planet Earth, including in emerging market countries like in South America and places like that. I've never had a major problem doing this as long as I took the proper precautions first. Like, for example, you may have to go into your bank website and say, hey, I'm going to this country during these dates, so if I use the card there, don't freak out, don't block the card. You may have to do things like that, and that's fine. But I do those things. So I've never had a problem. But that being said, when you pay your actual utility bill here in Dubai and you try to use an American card, you get a bunch of errors. And so this just happened the other day. So I said, oh, fuck, I tried 2 or 3. I got lots of credit cards and lots of debit cards. I have an entire stack of debit cards because I have checking accounts all over the planet Earth, literally. And so I tried a few of them, they just didn't work. And I said, all right. So I called them up, and it's Dubai, so it's like Asia here. Everything's very fast, very efficient. Didn't wait on hold even for 1 second. As soon as I went through the press 4 for this and 2 for this, I immediately got a human being who was immediately helpful. And I said, hey, I'm a new customer. I live in Dubai. Here's my account number, blah, blah, blah. I'm trying to pay my utility bills over your online app, and I tried on my phone too, and I get an error when I use my American credit cards. What are some other options I have? And they said, no problem, use Apple Pay. Just use Apple Pay and you can pay all your utilities using Apple Pay. I said, that's a great idea. The problem is I have an Android. I do not have an iPhone. So Apple Pay won't work. By the way, side point, I have decided to get an iPhone and just use it as a Wi-Fi device. So I think they used to call that iPod Touch, what did they used to call that? They used to call that something. Maybe they still do. I'm not an Apple file, so I really don't know these terms, these i things. But so many times I've run into scenarios where it would be useful to have an iPhone. I'm gonna go ahead and just fucking buy an iPhone, the cheapest one I can, and just use that I'm not gonna attach a phone number to it, just use it as a Wi-Fi device, so that way I'll have an iPhone to use these iPhone-only apps. That's one of the reasons I had to delay myself getting on Clubhouse, because for a while it was only for iPhones. So anyway, side point there. But anyway, as of this moment, I do not have an iPhone, so I'd say, hey man, sorry, I don't have an iPhone. I can't use Apple Pay. So what else can I do? And they said, well, what you can do is, you can go down to what they have here in Dubai are things called cash deposit machines. They look like ATMs, even though they are not ATMs. And you can pay your phone bill, your internet bill, your utility bill. You can pay various bills in there. I think if you get a parking ticket here, you can pay those there too. And you just go in there and you can just shove cash in these machines and you just pay your bill that way. I said, oh, okay, well, I don't want to have to walk 3 or 4 blocks to a fucking cash machine, but okay, fine, I'll do that. So fine, that's how I had to pay my utility bill until next week when my bank accounts are up and running and I won't have a problem. Not a big deal. And that's an example of the kinds of little things you'll encounter when you move out of the country. You're not gonna encounter these major things like, oh my God, I can't buy toilet paper. I've had that, I just, so stupid. No, and frankly, if you, making this excuse, had traveled to other countries and been to many other countries like I have and spent real time in other countries, a week or more, at least 5, 6, 7 days in a foreign country, in multiple foreign countries, you would know this. You would already know this is not a big deal. And I see that a lot. Americans in particular are really bad about this, but I've seen some Europeans do this. Canadians, things like that, is that the problem is they haven't really traveled very much outside of their little spheres. You know, maybe if you're in Europe, you travel to a few other European, EU, Eurozone countries, and that's it. You never really traveled. You never really spent any time, significant time outside of your country in other countries. So when you say, well, if I move to this country, then this bad thing will happen, and that bad thing will happen, and that bad thing will happen, you're literally just talking out of your ass. You know what you're talking about. I love these people, Americans again, Americans especially, who say, oh, South America, you'll get shot, you'll get raped. And these are people who live in high crime rate areas like in Los Angeles and Chicago and Minneapolis. And they're talking about places like Panama or Paraguay, which are much safer than those cities. It's just hilarious. And of course, the people saying this have never been to South America and likely have never been outside the United States. Other than maybe, Mexico for a vacation or something in some really touristy area, which doesn't fucking count, in my opinion. Here's the next thing to allay some of your fears. People afraid to move out of their country, seem to think that when you move to your new country, you can never go back to your old country ever again. They say these things and make these stupid excuses as if once you move from, I don't know, the United States to Thailand, you can never go back to the United States ever again. Dude, you can just buy a fucking plane ticket and go back to your home country whenever the fuck you feel like it. Matter of fact, because my wife, unfortunately, is still in the United States, we're living separately for a few months, I've had to go back to the United States quite a few fucking times. And she's been over here a few times. There's been a lot of back and forth. So it's fine. Now, yes, you could say, well, Caleb, you have high income, you can afford these plane tickets, it's not a big deal. I don't have that much money, I can't afford these. Fine, then go back once or twice a year. And if, God forbid, you really can't find something really important to you, something stupid like your favorite brand of cologne or whatever the fuck you have a panic attack about, then when you go back to your home country, buy a whole box of them there and bring them back over to your country. I've had to do that with some of my testosterone stuff, some of my TRT stuff. Not all of it, but there's a few items here in Dubai that are not quite the same or radically different than what I need in terms of my testosterone replacement protocol that I have to get in the US. And yeah, when I go to the US, I get a big hunk of them and I bring them over here. And it's fine. Dubai doesn't fucking care. So that's fine. Do that. Always repeat to yourself, I can always go back home. I can always go back home. Matter of fact, let me extend that. Let's say you move to another country and your greatest fears become true and you hate it. You just hate your new country. Oh, I hate it here. Guess what, dude? You can move back. I know that's a shock, but you can move back to your old shitty collapsing Western country if you really fucking want to. Now, in my opinion, what you should do is move to a third country, another country. I don't think you should go back to the Western world. In my opinion, that's just my opinion. But you can move back to your old country. If you find you hate it, go back. A lot of young guys do that in their 20s, and I'm very envious of these guys. I wish I did this in my 20s. They live abroad for a year or two, and then they go back home. Great. See, there's not a lot of risk here. Moving out of the country in the modern era does not introduce a lot of risk. The only time that might be true is if you're moving to a legitimately dangerous country. And as I talk about in my upcoming 5 Flags course, those are actually pretty rare these days. In terms of the number of countries, the number of regions of the world, there aren't that many super, super dangerous countries. Most places in the world are very, very, very safe. They're very safe. And the ones that are not very safe are moderately safe as long as you do certain things and don't do anything stupid. Truly dangerous countries, like Nicaragua, El Salvador, places like that, Guatemala, a lot of places in Central Asia, a few places in Africa, 1 or 2 places in the Middle East, and that literally is it. It's 1 or 2 places, not the entire Middle East, but a few places in the Middle East, yes, are legitimately dangerous, then guess what? You wouldn't move there. So that's not even a focus for discussion. I don't think a lot of you are gonna move to North Korea anytime soon. I don't think you're gonna move, right? I don't think you're gonna move to Nicaragua. I just have a feeling that's probably not the country on your radar, right? Right. So that's not relevant. Countries are safe. I have been all over the world. I have been to every continent in the world minus Africa, and I'll hit that when COVID relaxes. I'll be in Africa probably next year. I have been to, I forget the number now, 80 different cities all over the planet Earth. Never once have I felt unsafe. Never once have I experienced a crime. Not once, not once. And I've been to countries and spent significant time in countries that many Westerners, particularly dumb Americans again, think are dangerous, like Colombia. It's just ridiculous. Yeah, there's a few dangerous parts of Colombia in certain Colombian cities. Yes, guess what? You don't go there. You do the research and you find out where they are and you don't go there. It's very, very simple. I don't know why this is so complicated. Safety is not a big factor. Now let's talk about healthcare really fast. I already did a YouTube video on foreign healthcare, so I'm just going to summarize this here. Most countries that most people would move to have good healthcare. As a matter of fact, many Westerners don't realize how shitty their healthcare is. I saw a report a year or two ago about the number of staph infections that people get in American hospitals as compared to hospitals like in Malaysia or Singapore. It's not even close. They're way cleaner in Asia. Here in Dubai, they have amazing healthcare, amazing doctors. I've been to the doctor twice for my testosterone placement stuff, and you would not believe the level of service. It's great. You can just text your doctor, you get right in, you don't wait very long. Everything's very high tech. It's very organized, it's great. Everything's very clean and efficient. It's awesome. But Caleb, that's in Dubai. And what if you moved to like South America? Even in South America, even in low-end South American countries, there are always, every major city has, I've mentioned this in my YouTube video, one or two or more classy, expensive, quote unquote, for the people who live there, not for you from the West, expensive, nice hospitals or doctor's offices that are geared toward foreigners visiting that country, Westerners in particular, or rich people in that country. And you're able to find those, you just locate those and it's okay. And again, if you're just horrified and you want to get your annual checkup in your home country, then fucking fly back to your country once a year and get your checkups there. If you're that paranoid, that's kind of silly in my view, but if you're, again, you have the option of doing that perfectly fine. This is outside completely the topic of medical tourism, where you can actually get better or equivalent healthcare for specific procedures that are not urgent in other countries outside the United States and Europe for literally sometimes 1/5 the price. Well, if it's 1/5 the price, the doctors suck. No, no, no. These are doctors who are either from or trained in the United States or Europe, usually the UK. So incorrecto, dude. Dental procedures, surgical procedures, all kinds of stuff you can get really, really cheap in very high quality, matter of fact, sometimes better quality clinics that you can find in the West for 1/3 the price, 1/5 the price, 1/4 the price, and so on. Here in Dubai, side point, a lot of women here in Dubai for their augmentations, like their fake tits and their Brazilian butt lifts and their fake lips and shit like that, they go to Turkey, they go to Istanbul, where it's very, very high quality there. They know exactly what they're doing over there in terms of these procedures, and they're really inexpensive. Far less expensive than anything these women can find in Europe. Most of these women are from Europe, Russia, places like that. So that's just one little example. Here's another fear, and this one actually has some foundation in fact. So this one I don't make fun of as much. And that is, yes, I want to move out of my country, but there are so many options, and it is such a complex topic, I have no idea where to begin. I don't know where to start. I have so many choices and I don't know what I like and what I don't, and things like that. Bingo, buddy. Bingo, dude, buy my course. Very simple. When my course comes out in a few weeks, go ahead and get it. That is exactly what that course is designed for. I spend a few hours of that course going through the entire planet Earth, every single country and or region, the pros and cons of moving to that country. Would it be a good idea to move to that country? Under what conditions would you move to that country? And it's also a factor of you. Young guys looking to get laid have different priorities when they move out of the country than maybe guys my age who are married and just want to settle down and relax. So I cover all that in the course. Get that course. Plus, there are lots of other resources too. Nomad Capitalist, my buddy Andrew, he's a great resource. Simon Black, he's a great resource. Doug Casey, he's a great resource. There's a lot of resources you can tap into. Now, is it complicated? Yeah, it is. I'll be honest with you, it is. That's why I'm going to produce more and more materials for this to make this less complicated for you. But yes, it's going to require some research. It's okay. Do the research. That's what I've been doing the past 8 years. Now, you don't need to do 8 years of research like I have, because I'm not just moving out of my country, I'm doing full-on 5 flags, which is way more complicated than just moving out of your country. But as I've talked about in the past, 5 flags, full-on 5 flags, is mostly for men with higher incomes. You need to be making at least, I don't know, around $200,000 a year to make it worthwhile. And I have a feeling most of you don't make that kind of money, so 5 flags shouldn't even be on your radar, at least at the moment. Moving out of your country, yes. 5 flags, maybe not, or maybe bits and pieces of 5 flags. So it's a lot more simple for you to move out of the country than it was for me, because my country has to plug into this very big, expansive macro plan called 5 flags. So yes, it's a little complicated, and yes, you gotta do some research, but not nearly as much as you think. And when people say, oh my God, but there's 200 countries in the world, which one do I move to? Only a small percentage of those countries are good countries for someone like you to move to. I don't mean anyone to move to, I mean you. Again, you, based on your age, where you are in life, your budget, your income. For example, if you make a very low income, you probably don't want to move to Dubai like I did, right? Another example, if you make a higher income and you're a guy who's like in his 50s or 60s and you're married and you have kids, you probably don't want to move to fucking Brazil, right? You probably don't want to move to a crazy party country like that, right? So based on who you are, that narrows down the number of countries that would be compatible for you to live in. And out of the 200 countries, it's sort of like 190 something odd plus whatever countries, only a small number of those, maybe 10, 15, 20 of those would make sense for you to move to. And I promise if I sat down and went through this with you one-on-one and we narrowed down those 20 countries, which I could do pretty quickly just by asking you a few questions. As we went through those 20 countries, you would very quickly eliminate a bunch of those 20 and you'd get down to maybe 5 countries. Perfect, those are the 5 you work with. And I talk more about this in the course. So yes, when you start from zero and you look at that map of the world, it seems a little intimidating, but it really is not as complicated as you think. It really isn't. Do you think I was looking at moving to, 47 different countries? No, it was a small list. Even when I first got started, the list was at its largest. It was probably, 15 countries, and I narrowed that down pretty damn quick. So it's not that big of a deal. The next fear or excuse that I hear are guys who say, well, I would love to move out of my country, but, and then they talk about other people in their life. But what about my mom? But I have friends here. What about my friends? But I have a girlfriend. God forbid. I have a girlfriend. Oh, great. Fucking girlfriends. I have a girlfriend. What do I do about her? Or maybe you're an alpha male 2.0. I got, 3 FBs and 2 MLTRs all in rotation. I got to start all over when I move out of the country. The answer to that is yes, but it's not a big deal. And plus, you may encounter better and higher quality women when you move out of your country. Most people in the West do. That's a whole different topic for another time, but trust me, ooh, baby, I'm at the point right now, where the only woman I'm having sex with who is an American is my wife. I have not had sex with an American who is not my wife in quite a long time. I mean, months and months and months. I'd have to go back and check my spreadsheets, but everyone else I'm having sex with in various parts of the world are not American women, and it's fucking great. Nothing against American women. I have been having sex with and dating American women for my entire life, for whatever, my entire adult life. 20 years, 30 years, and American women are great. But when you branch out to other types of women in the world, oh, baby, is it a good time? It's a whole different thing. And in many cases, it's much better than you thought was possible. But I'm getting off topic. We could discuss that in some other podcast. The point is, other people in your life, you figure it out. So if you have friends in your old country, then you move to your new country and you make new friends and you keep the old friends in the old country, and then you have this great network, this international network of friends. Wouldn't it be really cool if you're a more extroverted guy to have friends in many different countries all over the world? By the way, I do, and I'm not even an extrovert, I'm an introvert, but I have friends, people I consider friends, all over the world. Really neat, kind of fun. And again, you can always go back and see your friends in your old country. You can visit them. There are things like, I know this is gonna be a shock to you, there are things like Zoom and Skype and WhatsApp, so you can communicate with these people every fucking day if you want to. When I'm not with my wife during this transitional period we're going through, every day I talk to my wife on the phone for an hour, for an entire hour, and then on Sunday, several hours when she's not physically with me. And I got a phone plan here in Dubai, kind of clever of Dubai. When you get a phone plan here in Dubai, you can choose one country to have unlimited minutes with. So I chose the USA, very simple. Now, in terms of family members, that's a little more complicated. Obviously, if you have children, they need to come with you. And yes, that makes things more complicated, but it's very doable. I know guys with kids who have done this. Tim Ferriss has profiled many men who have kids who have moved out of the country. So has Andrew Henderson of Nomad Capitalist. Yes, that's perfectly doable. If you have a mother, that's a whole different thing. That's a podcast in and of itself. And in fact, I have discussed that. Well, if you have other siblings, is your mother an adult? Are you really responsible for taking care of your mother for the rest of your life? That's a very big topic another time, but you see my point, I hope. So yes, other people can be a factor, but that again is a mitigatable and overcomable problem. Is that a word, overcomable? I don't know, I just made it up if it's not a real word. That is not a showstopper to me. It just isn't. And I realize that I'm an INTJ and I'm an introvert, and other people may not be as important to you if you have a more emotional personality or if you're more of an extrovert. I understand. But I personally know guys who are not only extroverts, extreme extroverts, who have moved out of their countries and they're having a great, 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 great time. Dude, you're an extrovert. Move to South America. You will have the time of your life down there. Move to Southeast Asia, dude. You will have the time of your life. Hell to the yes. Oh, you'll be just fine. Don't worry. So don't use friends, family, other people in your life as an excuse. It really is not that big of a deal once you sit down and figure out all the angles. It really isn't that big of a deal at all, no matter how close to these people you may think you are or how dependent these people are on you. And you know what? The last thing I'll say about this is that courage is not about not having fear. You've heard that with a lot of self-help material talks about this. Courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is feeling the fear and doing it anyway. So are you going to have some little fears as you move to your new country? Probably you will. I mean, I didn't, but I'm an international guy to begin with, so this is just kind of natural for me, but I'm in an odd category. So yes, I'm sure you'll have some trepidations and a little fear when you make this transition, and that's okay. The goal of life is not to live your life based on your fears, which, by the way, most of them are completely irrational anyway. It's the monster under the bed. So the goal here is not to let your fears run you. The goal is for you to run you and proceed in spite of these fears. Yes, you use preparatory steps to make sure that you minimize the problems and minimize the odds of problems occurring. Of course you do that. I'm a master at doing that. And then, even if you're still scared, you proceed anyway. It's not that big of a deal. And by the way, when you move out of your country, the positives, the net positive of you moving out of your country in your life, in terms of your happiness, in terms of your financial life, certainly in terms of your taxes if you're a Westerner, in terms of your sex life and your dating life, these things all become so much better. Even if you do incur minor problems, the net positive is more than worth it. I should have moved out of the United States 10 fucking years ago. Now I didn't because I had small children and I didn't know what to do about them, and I wasn't able to just take them away because I was divorced and I had those scenarios. But even then I didn't use that as an excuse, did I? I still did it. There was a delay, but I still did it. And man, is it good. It's a good life to live outside the United States. And I would be saying that even if I didn't live here in Dubai, which I really like. If I had moved to Singapore, if I had moved to Malaysia, if I had moved to Hong Kong, if I had moved to, even if I had moved to Argentina, goddamn, even if I had fucking moved to Argentina, certainly if I had moved to Paraguay or Colombia, I'd be saying the same thing. Just by being out of the collapsing Western world, you have no idea what a weight off your shoulders it is. It is so nice. You feel so good. It's fantastic. I highly recommend it. You're missing out if you don't do this in the modern era. The Western world is going down. And I would rather you be outside the Western world watching the train wreck from afar than being right in the middle of it when it actually occurs, which it will occur in our lifetimes. It's actually occurring now. And if you live in certain countries like Germany or the United States, you already see it happening right in front of your eyes. You don't need me to tell you this. So if you are interested in this topic, you can go to escapeplancourse.com. That is where my 5 Flags course will be available very, very soon in terms of how to move out of the country. I show you step by step. I have lots of other resources coming, and I have lots of other resources on my blogs and things like that at calebjones.com. But if this is a topic you want me to talk more on, please let me know, and I will certainly do more podcasts on this and other 5 Flags topics. I will see you very soon. Have a good one. Bye.